Hey folks, it's Kat.Beanie and welcome back to another episode. So, right before hitting record on this one, I came into the Nether to head to the Stronghold village, and a creeper was waiting for me and blew out my portal. So, thankfully, I've got some flint on me. I don't have a flint and steel, but we'll grab some. We'll grab some iron at some point somewhere and able to relight this. Otherwise, I'll just get a bucket of lava and chuck it on there. But yeah. So that's my start to the episode. Not so great. So yeah, to get to the end village, we need to go this way. Yoink! Oh god. Yeah, I need to be careful. I've got like 48 XP, and I really want to make a bunch of backup gear because I don't really have any backup gear right now. And I also need to make this bit a bit better because it is a bit precarious at the moment. So to get to the end village, we need to go this way. So I have a bunch of Deepslate here. My plan is, well, you'll see my plan when we get to the end. I also might do some end busting. We'll see how that goes. So just have a chill episode because it has been a bit, like, I have been editing and uploading old live streams and posting them. So if you want to see them, there's a couple of them out already. The audio is horrific on them because that was back when I had my old headset on. I didn't have my microphone that I do now. I mean, my microphone that I do now is good. It's not obviously one of the best. But it does, it ain't horrible. It does what it does. It gets me there. And as far as I can tell, with my limited audiology expertise, oh my god, I'm not doing very well today. What does the trick? Right. Do I have any iron kicking about? Oh, I do have iron. There we go. That's handy. Handy dandy, bo bandy. Actually shouldn't really matter anyway because when I go through the end portal, I should end up back at my village. So when I do that, yeah, when I go back through the portal, it should relight again anyway. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I think that's the plan. So let's jump into the end and then you will see what I have been up to. If I can remember how to get out of here. Here we go. So as you can see, I've been deepslating the place. Now, don't ask me why, I just think it looks good. It's like such a massive contrast to the yellow that I think it's not too bad. It's not too bad. And obviously this is my own survival world. So this is still in the plastic texture pack. I do still try to do Divergence and all the other ones in the OG texture pack, which has been going pretty well. I must say, after getting over the initial feeling, it's getting there. But things have been a bit crazy here so far. After obviously my grandmother passed away last month, and then we just had her funeral a few weeks ago. Two of my husband's friends passed away, so we just had their funerals, and then not only that, but another family member has passed away. So we've got her funeral next month. Well, I say next month. This is the end of November. It's literally the 30th of November when I'm recording this. So it's been a bit chaotic, to say the least. Especially on the run up to Christmas. I feel really bad for her family and her kids and her husband and all that, especially at this time of the year. Like, losing someone is never great, but losing someone at, like, an important time of the year as well. Especially when, like, there's young kids involved and you need to inform those kids of what's happened, and you don't want it to taint their outlook on, obviously, this specific part of the year for the rest of their lives. Which is one thing, like, we found difficult because we decided not to inform our son that my grandmother had passed away. Like, because he calls my mum Nana, he calls his dad's mum Gran. So he called his great grandmother Grandma. And we decided to not tell him until he asked to go to her house or asked to see her. And he did that recently, so we're sitting down and obviously trying to explain to a 9-year-old with a learning disability and autism that, you know, his grandma had passed, that she wasn't here anymore, that we could no longer go to her house, we could no longer visit. It was very complicated, and I had to use very matter-of-fact terms like grandma is dead, grandma is gone, no more grandma, you know, that sort of thing, which would seem very heartless if you were explaining it that way to a neurotypical child. But when you have a neurodivergent child, sometimes the only way that information gets across to them is by basically putting it bluntly, speaking plainly, and just being matter of fact, like, these are the facts as I have presented them to you. Like, there's no way that that can be misconstrued, that, you know, grandma is dead. Because obviously some people beat around the bush and, like, oh, grandma's went to heaven, or she's in the sky, and blah, blah. And that can be very confusing for a neurodivergent person, not even specifically a neurodivergent child, but like any neurodivergent in general. Like, well, what do you mean they're in the sky? Like, because especially if you've not been raised with religious connotations or a religious background. Like, because a lot of people have found in Britain, on paper, they either identify as like Protestant or Catholic or Christian, but in practice they are essentially an atheist. It's like, well, why put it down on a form if, you know, that's, oh, because I was baptized as a baby and blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's not the way that works. Because some people used to just have christenings, and like, I know people personally that have had christenings for their children because it is the done thing to do. Just in case. Just because they wanted to have a party because their kid was born. Is like, you know, a whole laundry list of reasons that they had for having this religious event when they weren't even religious and had no plans to raise their child as such. Which kind of boggles my mind. like, I do, like, I had godparents, having been raised a Catholic. My godparents were my maternal grandmother and my uncle. And it does upset me a little bit that my kids don't have godparents. But there's no reason for us to baptize them in the faith that neither me nor their father believes in, just because that is what was expected of us by family members or society or any of that sort of thing. It's like, no. My kids have people in their lives that are important to them, that are important to me, that love them unconditionally, and that is all that matters. But obviously, when it comes to people with cognitive and neurological disabilities, having to explain things like this is a challenge, because sometimes you feel like you're being heartless, like having to try and explain that to my son. Oh, grandma's dead. Like, you know, I'm trying not to cry just thinking about it right now. Like having to explain that to my son in such a frank and logical way felt physically horrible. Like, I was like, and I know that if she was here, she wouldn't blame me for, you know, having to explain it that way. She wouldn't resent me for, you know, having to put it in those terms. But it's not something that anyone ever wants to explain to their child, let alone explain it in a way that seems so heartless. But if it's the only way that's the way that it'll get across to them, that they will understand it, then, you know, you have to explain things the way that they understand and not the way that you want them to understand. And he does, and we've had a little laugh since, because he keeps coming through saying things are dead, like the Coca-Cola is dead, or, you know, his TV show is dead, and like our oldest went through the same sort of phase when she was little after my granddad passed. She's like a very morbid child, that one. She was absolutely obsessed with death and things of that nature. And now, in his own way, our son is sort of doing the same thing. The Coke is dead! And like, he's so... like, he's not upset about it. I don't think he quite grasps the context of what he's saying, but it does make us feel a little bit better. Just for the sheer hilarity of how he puts it across. That's the thing, kids are so resilient. Well, anyway, this took a dark turn, huh? Yeah, so it's been quite weird the past few weeks. Everything seems to be happening at once. And, like, you get times like that in your life where things just seem on top of you. Like, you can't seem to catch a break with anything. Everything just seems to be going, like, you know, full speed all the time. And obviously some people are really good at coping with life at that sort of pace. Some people are used to it, some people are not, some people struggle. I know one of my other family members who's recently been going through a lot and struggling a lot with a lot of losses recently. And they have done it with such grace and understanding and patience and all of that sort of stuff that, like, it just makes you in awe of how they've managed to cope, because you know that if you were put in the same position that they are in now, that you just would not handle things as well. And it kind of puts things into perspective as well, because, like, you're like, right, well, yeah, I might be struggling with this, but they've got this, that, and it's like, it's not a competition to say, oh, like, your pain's worse than my pain, or my pain's worse than your pain. Like, I don't think that is healthy for anybody, because everybody deals with things, struggles and adversities in their life in a different way, and some people are more resilient at dealing with those things than other people, and obviously some people who can't cope have, you know, things that they fall back on to try and cope with, whether that's in a healthy or an unhealthy way. So I think it entirely depends on the person, and nobody's pain and suffering should be paramount to anyone else's. Because we all might be going through different things, but people experience, obviously, what might seem like a nothing event to me could be someone else's last straw, or, you know, crumble someone else's world. What may be important to me and detrimental to me could mean absolutely nothing to somebody else. And it all depends on, you know, your life experiences, your resilience with life, and all that sort of stuff. It all has an impact on how you deal with adverse experiences. Like losing a loved one, or multiple loved ones in very quick succession, as it were. But obviously, as you get older and as your family and friends age along with you, that is one of the parts of life that unfortunately becomes more common the older you get. The older you get, the more funerals you got to go to. And eventually you won't have any to go to, because it'll be your own. Yay! I was actually watching this video on YouTube the other day. I don't know why my mouse isn't working. Yeah, I was watching this video on YouTube the other day, and it was this clip of this guy that gets paid by people that have passed to go to their funeral. He's called a coffin confessor, and like, obviously it's mostly for people that know that they're gonna pass soon, or that, you know, have booked this guy way in advance just in case. So he goes to their funeral, and if there's like a family member there that person didn't like, or a family member there that didn't like that person, basically goes out like, oh, why are you here? You didn't even like them in the first place. Or like, oh, shout out to my brother who always thought he was like the bigger man, or like, you know, like really awkward stuff like that that we all wish we've like probably said to people in life, and he just goes to like their funeral and like blows it out the water. I thought that is pretty awesome. I wish I could do like stuff like that. But anyway, we currently have a roof rent, so I'm going to end this video now, and I will catch you in the next one, and let me know what you think would be a funny, quirky experience for you to have at your funeral after you die, or what you wish you'd say to someone in the comments, because inquiring minds need to know. Okay. Bye guys.